We're sexing.
So I watched Leave the World Behind while, trying to leave the world behind with some sports enhancers, and I personally thought that it was a laugh-out-loud comedy at first. I mean, 3 needle-drop music montages in the first 10 minutes, Julia Roberts breaking the fourth wall, and this damn Gen Z girl obsessed with whether or not Ross or Rachel will get together. But then it hit me. Holy herd of evil deer wanting to eat my family. This movie has layers, a Shrek amount of layers. And the more I watched it, the more I sat up in my seat, pointed at the screen like some dum-dum, because this might be, this is 2023's best, worst movie, and I love every second of it. There is a ton to break down. I know a lot of y'all want, to know about the ending. We'll be talking about that, of course, but there's like 5 different messages, tons of hidden things. It's a treasure trove of great stuff. So slap that subscribe button so I can afford more Cheetos and Pop-Tarts, and let's get into this beautiful mess. A quick overview of the plot. Leave the World Behind is based on the 2020 novel by the same name, which follows this well-to-do white family of the Stanfords, Amanda, Clay, Rose, Archie, as they plan a spontaneous weekend getaway in Long Island. Terror sets in when all of their tablets, cell phones, and Wi-Fi go out, and they have to talk to each other. However, any white woman's worst fears happen when not only do black people show up to their house, but they're also rich.
Wait.
The owners of the house, G.H. Scott and his daughter Ruth, return home because of strange blackouts in the city and felt it would be much safer in the suburbs. The two families basically walk on eggshells, avoiding the obvious racial differences along the way with the growing concerns of the unknown. Why is the internet out? What's the deal with the emergency alert? The deer, well, they're acting strange. Again, will Ross and Rachel end up together? Why is someone blasting Skrillex in 2023 and this mofo's teeth are falling out? Remember, kids, drink milk. Now, all of this craziness leads to them going to GH's contractor neighbor looking for medicine, but after a quick conversation, GH's biggest fears are confirmed. Earlier in the movie, he disclosed a story about one of his financial clients dealing in defense contracts, moving large sums of money out of nowhere, with GH joking about him meeting with his evil cabal of pals that run the world. Usually reciprocated with laughter, from his client. All he received, though, was a cold, calm response of "take care of yourself." Obviously a little freaky, as he remembers one of the military operations that scared the bejesus out of this same client. It was said to be the most effective and efficient way to destabilize a country in 3 simple steps. First is isolation, designed to, quote, make the target deaf and dumb. Second is synchronized chaos, which is characterized by the synchronized attacks and misinformation. And third is a coup d'etat, overthrowing the government, aka civil war. If the target country was dysfunctional enough, you sit back, make some poppycorn, and watch as the world burns, baby. Now, all of this is simply a theory from GH and coincides with the way that the film is structured in 5 different parts. Part 1 is the house, the new location for these families to coexist. Part 2 is the curve, with GH saying that he could predict future moments in the market by looking at the curve, of which he had a suspicion something odd was happening. The next 3 parts are essentially the theoretical 3-step operation at work. Part 3, the noise, which is the cyber attack knocking out all of the communication and causing ailments like the sun's teeth falling out. Part 4 is the flood, the oversaturation of misinformation, aka the red flyers, that causes people to speculate and begin to act irrationally because of fear. I mean, COVID was a pretty close example of this. And part 5 is the last one, meaning civil war will take over, causing only the last ones to remain, but also, as we'll get into later, is cheekily the name of the Friends finale episode Rose wants to finally watch so badly. Surprisingly, this idea or plan isn't something new. This is straight up an idea, the same idea from episode 22 of The Twilight Zone, titled "The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street." Aliens come to Earth, mess with people's lives, specifically their electronic devices, and chaos erupts almost immediately, with the aliens now knowing how to take over our planet. Same series of events, just brought into the 21st century. Everything comes to a close with Amanda and Ruth holding hands as they witness New York City slowly collapsing in on itself with explosions, gunshots, and sirens, all like GH had theorized. The dysfunctional nature of the United States was just enough for the Civil War to happen on its own. Do we have a concrete answer to who or what is behind these attacks? Unfortunately, no. Throughout the film, many people speculate, think of the worst, but like Amanda says to Ruth, the truth is much scarier. No one is in charge. No one is behind this. It's just happening, and that's the scariest thing. We all live this lie, almost wearing masks to hide our true selves from the shit and madness of this world. Just like one of Alan Moore's quotes that is briefly mentioned, the main thing that I learned about conspiracy theory is that the conspiracy theorists believe in a conspiracy because that is more comforting. The truth of the world is that it is actually chaotic. The truth is that it is not the Illuminati or the Jewish banking conspiracy or the gray alien theory. The truth is far more frightening. Nobody is in control. The world is rudderless. Rudderless like an oil tanker ruining your sandwiches on a sandy beach day. We're all searching for an answer, the meaning to life. Some one answer fits all, but that does not exist. It's only an imaginary idea. The truth is no one knows. As we're taken over to the Thorns home, that was briefly mentioned by Danny to have a fallout bunker, as Rose is seen in the house eating loads of junk food, eventually finding the underground bunker, a stockpile of food, an emergency alert system confirming a rogue force is taking over the United States, with radiation leaks reported, but more importantly, a DVD collection including the last season of Friends. She quickly puts in the disc, selects the last episode, cleverly titled The Last One, as she's bathed in the blue light of the television and the pure nostalgia of the Friends theme song. You're sitting there confused, maybe angry, because what was that? That wasn't an ending. Show me what happened. Did they survive? Did Rose tell them about the bunker? What is happening? At this point, it's all up for interpretation. Personally, I think that everyone made it to the bunker, watched more 90s sitcoms, and lived happily ever after. But believe me, there is way more in Leave the World Behind that is commenting on a whole bevy of things. Some heavy-handed things, some subtle differences to show the chaos of the situation. So first, let's talk about technology and distractions. I guess escapism is in here too, especially since Clay is said to be a media studies professor, and the whole idea of media serving as both an escape and reflection on life. Okay, so it's pretty damn clear that we're all far too attached to our technology. When the Wi-Fi goes out, Rose instantly goes on a panic attack journey because she can't watch Friends. GH can't text his wife, and Clay gets lost without a GPS, later claiming that he is a useless man without technology. Sure, it's become a normal part of our lives, a necessity, but I think that this is painting the idea that maybe, just maybe, we should take a look at how addictive technology has become. Sure, the examples I just mentioned are almost, again, necessities in our life at this point, but there's also the more nefarious side of technology that is solely a distraction from our own lives, causing us to ignore the bigger things happening in the world. For example, Archie on the beach. Instead of enjoying the time with his family, he is fist deep in his phone talking to some girl. Later, when the oil tanker crashes, one of the first things he does is pull out his phone to take a video to probably share on social media. Earlier in the car, each of the family members is engrossed in their own form of tech and media, and later when Rose and Archie are in the pool, they have their phones and tablet right there, almost like a lifeline. The whole idea of technological distractions expands with us clearly seeing all of the garbage on the beach, a blatant comparison to things happening in the world, heck, even pollution or global warming, but Archie is then easily distracted by sex appeal, the two women walking by. This happens again when he's texting, ignoring the ship coming in, him taking pictures of Ruth, ignoring what Rose is warning him about, and asks if Haley, or whoever the girl is that he was texting, is okay when his teeth had just fallen out. This is sort of bleeding into more of an addiction to sexual adult content and attention. That want is available with just a click away with our, again, technology. Now, the same example can be said with Amanda talking about how insane the beach incident was and then instantly being distracted by Starbucks. Here, instead of technology, it's a corporation that is the distraction. So not only has technology helped us, we're reliant on it, but it's also causing massive distractions from bigger issues and more intimate personal connections. It's neither good nor bad, but here, there needs to be a balance to it all, especially when we use it and other forms of media as escapism. Heck, Rose is this concept throughout the entire movie, only wanting to watch Friends, saying it makes her happy and she really needs that. A perfect example, how many times have you binge-watched or rewatched a comfort show, dove into a feast of comfort food like Rose? No doubt it can soothe the hardships of the world, as the opening Friends theme song lyrics can confirm, "I'll be there for you." It's an interesting concept that Leave the World Behind is touching on. Heck, even the movie title could hint at escaping into your favorite media to leave the world behind. An absolutely glaring issue in Leave the World Behind is xenophobia and racism. I mean, from the second the Scots show up to the house, Amanda is on high alert. Go Power Ranger morphing into a Karen, concerned about her safety, children, accusing them of lying, being the housekeeper, straight up not believing anything they say. This continues with the Spanish woman that Clay meets on the road, and even the flyers falling from the sky, saying that they are like, Chinese or Korean or something, amongst a bevy of other things. Now, a lot of what I'm going to cover in this section falls into this category, but because this movie is produced by the Obamas, I think it's also reframing things to fit the 1619 Project from the New York Times, in that it's reframing the country's history by placing the consequences of slavery and the contributions of Black Americans at the very center of our national narrative. Heck, 1619 comes up a couple times in the movie, specifically the radio station that's in Clay's car. But things unravel far more than just this number reference. The Stanford's vacation in Point Comfort, which is where the first documented Africans were brought via an English privateer ship called the White Lion in the year of 1619. The beach that they go to is Charleston Harbor, where Clay says that it's like one of New York's natural harbors, but in reality, this was a major port of entry for slave ships transporting slaves from West Africa. Later, Clay drives by Taney Farms, a reference to Chief Justice Roger B. Taney, who penned the majority opinion in the Dred Scott case, which declared that Black people could not be U.S. citizens. So you can see that all of these rich white folk are completely oblivious to the historical references all around them, but then relish in the Black music, art, and culture that they've created since, with almost all of the music needle drops being from Black artists. There's even the scene of Ruth vaping, but we see all of these historical Black photos hidden away in a room, as it's showing that this part of history is wanting to be forgotten, but the people it affects will never forget. This xenophobia goes further, with Danny being the stereotypical Southern ignorant racist American with a cowboy's hat, American flag proudly displayed, and him just lumping together any East Asian country together like they are all one in the same. A subtle thing is Archie knowing what the red flyers say, probably because of a video game most likely being like a Call of Duty-like game where entertainment is drawn from the harm of different races or cultures. In the Thorns bunker, they have wall art of Fremont petroglyphs, their culture being one of the first to inhabit the Utah area roughly like 700 to 2,000 years ago. Most of the food in the pantry has racially offensive logos and brands like Aunt Jemima, Indian Head Cornmeal, Uncle Ben's Rice, Injun Orange Drink, amongst a few others. And lastly, the most bonkers hidden example is the QR code that is barely seen on the cyber attack map. When scanned, it takes you to a landing page for the Lake Shawnee Abandoned Amusement Park, which states, a Native American burial ground, violent deaths, freak accidents. Who knew a simple amusement park could have such a dark past? As one of the accounts listed is called the Clay Incident, settlers attacked and murdered Native American tribes, and one of the characters in this movie just so happens to be named Clay. So I think that all of these hidden things, including Exit 76, potentially referencing 1776 when the United States became an independent country, is showcasing how America was built. Rather than the glossy, shiny story in the history books, it's instead touching on the atrocities that were committed to build America. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, this script is getting far too long for my own liking, so I'm gonna just steamroll through this next bit. I picked up on a whole generational difference idea and how those different generations acted. The adults were panicking, not looking at the signs. Ruth was somewhere in the middle, while Rose is the one who knew and found the bunker. I say this as the younger generations having more time on this planet, therefore they are the ones concerned about everything. A prime example is Greta Thunberg, this 20-year-old who served up Andrew Tate, Gen Z, and a leading environmental activist calling for immediate action towards climate control. This is a growing concern. Of course, we should listen to what she has to say. But just like Rose in the movie, the adults don't listen. She even says something along the lines of, they don't listen, they don't care what I have to say. This is because her parents are older, believe they know how all of this works, while also seeing whatever problems that may be present are actually the next generation's problems. Rose saw the signs, she found the bunker, she knew the path to survival, so maybe some of these younger folk have the right ideas. Listen, they might find a fuckload of waffles when you're looking for waffles in a bunker when you really need them. The meaning of Archie's teeth is a big WTF moment in the movie. So what is going on here? Again, this ties in with the idea of the truth being much scarier than any sort of speculation. First, they downplay everything by saying it's probably because of the tick bite that Archie received in the forest to ease his mind and find a logical explanation for his damn teeth just falling out. But later, Danny suggests that it could be these microwave weapons he had read about online. Again, another speculation, thinking the worst. But Danny is on the right track because Archie even claims that he should have covered his ears earlier when the noise crippled everyone, therefore caused the illness and his teeth falling out. Horrifyingly enough, this technique of microwave brain scrambling alludes to the real-life events that happened in 2016 to roughly 36 US diplomats, both tying into the real horrors of our world, and Danny claiming that people aren't reading the news, only the headlines on page 1 to make a big ol' stink about on social media. Heck, I didn't even know about this event and this thing that happened in 2016 until I looked it up. But in a more metaphorical way, writer-director Sam Esmail says that the teeth falling out is, quote, I think it's a nightmare. I think the movie's a nightmare, and I think that in nightmares, things happen that are inexplicable. Heck, I personally have dreams all the time about my teeth falling out, which usually means stress, anxiety, uncertainty of the future, which is basically Archie's character while all of this is happening. The animals, specifically the deer, are a goofy aspect to all of this. So why? What's the deal? What do they symbolize? According to Clay, he claims in Mesoamerican culture, they believe the deer to be a good omen. However, it is almost the complete opposite here. Now, the reason all of these deer and flamingos show up is basically whatever environmental disasters are happening in the south, the animals can sense, so their migration patterns have completely changed, as mentioned on the radio station.
Led to a catastrophic environmental disaster in the south, impacting animal migration patterns.
However, the deer represent the humans here, specifically the family. Have you ever heard of a deer in headlights? They freeze, are confused, haven't a clue what to do, much like the family panicking without technology to guide them, help them in the looming apocalypse. There's the claim the deer can sense that the humans are falling down the metaphorical food chain. We no longer have power and the tools that make us superior, so the deer are stepping up because they know damn well what we did to Bambi's mother. Hashtag never forget. However, the more logical reasoning behind the deer ties in with the man in the flood story Rose tells. These deer are a sign sent from a higher power to get packed up and get to safety. But much like the man in the story, they ignore and ignore and ignore until it's too late. This is why the deer surround Amanda and Ruth at the end, fearfully showing them to get their heads out of their asses, or I guess the grass, stop looking down and instead look upward and outward, which causes the pair to see the complete disaster in New York City. Rose is the only one to take the flood in the man story seriously, along with the deer, warnings, and she is the one who made it to the bunker safely. Be aware of your surroundings and don't follow the herd into danger. I'm sure this is just scratching the surface, but again, the deeper you look, the more weird connections you can find in Leave the World Behind. There's a 76ers mug on Clay's bedside table that could be hinting at 1776 when the United States became an independent country. Later, they take Exit 76 to Point Comfort, which we mentioned earlier, but I see this as either leaving America or the end of it based on the ending of this movie, or it could be taking us on a tour of the horrors that America was built on, again referencing everything we mentioned in the xenophobia section. As they enter the rental house, there's a painting of evil eyes, a symbol in Middle East and North African cultures, used to fend off curses typically motivated by envy of others that can bring on bad things into their lives, much like Amanda scoffs at GH owning the house. Other paintings throughout the film actually change to show the chaotic nature and events escalating, as seen in the living room painting, becoming more and more distorted as the movie continues, much like the rising tide of events literally being symbolized by the rising tide on the wall of Amanda and Clay's master bedroom. Shirts tell us a lot about characters too, with Clay wearing a bikini kill shirt, representing the 90s punk band with their debut album called Pussy Whipped, which is no doubt his marriage dynamic. Archie is wearing a rock star shirt as he thinks that he is this big shot hot stuff just walking around receiving bikini pics, thinking he just reels in the bitches, even scamming on the honeys on the beach and taking pictures of Ruth, but in reality he's just a loser cranking his little soldier boy. The obey shirt is more like it, and that's exactly his mentality. He obeys the status quo and the events of his life. Now, on the other hand, Rose wears a NASA shirt, which symbolizes the youth having their heads up in the clouds and focusing on big out-of-this-world ideas rather than being grounded in the current moment, which is why she wants to watch Friends rather than panic that there's multiple Teslas out to kill her and her family. With writer and director Sam Esmail also being the creator of Mr. Robot, there are dozens of Easter eggs and references to the show, showing that this movie probably takes place in the same universe, and some of these cyber attacks could be explained by events in that series. E-Corp logos pop up on Amanda's laptop, along with the logos on the emergency supplies Danny is buying at the store, with the same supplies mentioning 5-9, which is a major hack in the Mr. Robot series, which is referenced again by GH and Ruth when they mention the cyber attacks in New Jersey a few years back. The book on Amanda's bedside table is Beach Towel, the same one written by Irving in Mr. Robot. And lastly, the one of the grandfather clocks shows 11:16, which appears heavily in Mr. Robot. But no worries, I will not spoil that series here for you. There's the hidden QR code hidden in the news broadcast map that we mentioned earlier. 1222 shows up a couple of times as well, which is referred to as the angel number, symbolizing fresh starts, which GH and Clay have to build towards after going to Danny's. The name of the bunker Rose finds is Commodus, referring to the Roman emperor of the same name, whose death resulted in the end of the Golden Age of Peace, spiraling Rome into chaos, much like we see in New York City at the end of this film. Color plays a massive role throughout this movie as well, with much of the Stanford surroundings and tangible goods being bathed in blue, encompassing security, trust, and relaxed feeling. While red obviously means danger, as seen on the flyers that fall from the sky and the hallway that Rose walks through, symbolizing the danger and chaos of the world at this point, changing to blue when she finds the bunker and is bathed in the blue screen of friends. I also picked up on the Starbucks cup being white, along with all of the Teslas giving off a coldness, empty, sterile isolation feel, as that's one of the steps of the three-step plan, but also ties in with the technology and corporations earlier that they want to isolate us to profit from that isolation and loneliness. The ending really takes into account everything we've talked about, as Rose listens to the man in the flood story, picks up all of the signs that have been going on and needs to change. She's tired of waiting, using her different generational thinking to find her way over to the Thorns house. Here she shuts out the dangers of the world, symbolized by the red door, and instead takes safety in the blue-tinted kitchen, snacking on comfort food. She's no longer worried of the outside unknowns, which is ironically symbolized by the freedom from want picture hanging behind her, with this picture basically meaning that she is free from wants. She has everything she needs, food, clothing, shelter, and family, who we assume will join her later. It's both poetic and honestly kind of fucked up. Adding to the safety aspect is the name Rose and her being in the Thorns home. The thorns of a rose bush protect it from dangers. They are prickly, much like we can assume that the actual thorns were prickly, as in not nice people, as inferred by all of the racially stereotypical food items in their bunker. The Thorns' home is protecting the Rose and the little girl Rose, which symbolizes beauty and love, something that will hopefully be formed in the bunker when everyone joins her, and that's all they need.
All you need is love.
Hope begins in the dark, literally telling us that the bunker will keep them safe and hope for the future after all of this chaos finishes. The ending Friends theme song only adds to this and Rose's search for escapism, as we mentioned earlier. Sure, it's said to be nostalgic for a time that never existed, but Esmail said, quote, "In moments of crisis, when we've lost sight of our common humanity, when we feel isolated, we do want to escape to comfort." And for Rose, I thought her journey wouldn't be complete until she watched the final episode of her favorite show. The ending of Leave the World Behind is literally in the lyrics of the Friends theme song. Life isn't what you expected it to be. None of this is what we thought would be happening. And this is true for almost everyone. Heck, I'm from a place where if you aren't married with 3 kids by 25, people look at you weird. I never thought I'd be sitting in a basement reading a script about a movie where Julia Roberts dances like Elaine from Seinfeld, but fuck me, that's what's happening. I think it's the friends we make along the way media will be there for us to not only create the escapism we need and want, but also to inform us, to translate the horrors and events of the world into a digestible little format that is easier to understand and again digest, which may or may not be what Leave the World Behind is subtly or heavy-handedly hinting. Anyway, that is way too much on a movie that's about Tesla's malfunctioning and the US reverting back to the wild, wild west. So what did you think? What did you like? What any sort of theories or meaning or small things that you picked up that we maybe missed in this obnoxiously long breakdown of the movie? Drop everything in the comments below and please subscribe. It really helps out the channel and motivates me to make more videos like this. Our giveaway competitions have started up again, as we'll be giving away 3 random 2023 Blu-ray movies on the 15th of December, and all you gotta do to get a chance of winning this is like this video, make sure to subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on Leave the World Behind. We pick the comments at random, and the winners will be listed on screen in December. And if you haven't, check out all of my other social media accounts for my Shorts and Clips YouTube channel, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and new Retro Rewind trailer in the description. We'll be back later this week with episode 6 of Monarch: Legacy of Monsters, so enjoy your day, week, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye, everyone.